Good morning. I'd like to welcome you back to a new week and another edition of our Anchored in the Word morning reflection. And today we are in Luke chapter 10, verses 17 through 20. So if you have a Bible, I'd like to invite you to take it. Let's turn together. And if you're with us this past Sunday, you'll know this is the text that we dealt with. And I hope that it's a real encouragement to you. And so I'm really looking forward to taking that passage and just kind of breaking it down bit by bit, day by day, so that we can really absorb what we find in the text here. Let's go ahead and read it together. Again, that's Luke chapter 10, verses 17 through verse 20. It says, "And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning falling from heaven. Behold, I give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Notwithstanding, in this rejoice not, that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice, because your names are written in heaven." Now, I'd like to begin with, first of all, summarizing the text, thinking a little bit about the main point of what's going on. And then I want us to look at two great dangers that I think every single one of us at some point is going to face one of these two sides. And I want us to notice where they're alike and where they're different. So first of all, summary statement. The passage in front of us teaches us that while there are tremendous practical blessings associated with serving Christ, our highest joy cannot be in what we're doing for Him or in what we see Him do through us. Our greatest joy has to be somewhere outside of that. And so what we're going to see in these scriptures is that God wants our service to Him to flow out of a healthy view of His grace. And that's really what Jesus is driving at in these verses. So first of all, I want to begin by looking at two great dangers in the Christian's life when it comes to this issue of Christian ministry. The first danger that I'm going to mention is the danger of contention. And if anyone's been a part of a church for many, many years, and you have witnessed a church go through a church split, or maybe you were involved in some kind of ministry at one point, and you saw that somebody on the church staff decided they were going to leave, or they got fired, or there were clearly contentions going on within that group of people. If you've ever witnessed that, you know that first of all, it's a very sad thing. It's something that can be very detrimental to the work that God is doing, not just in the local church, but in people's families and within a community. And the contentions that sometimes take place in ministry contexts are things that can affect a community for a very long time. It can affect a church and its culture for a very long time. And so we know that contention is something that is a tremendous danger in ministry. In fact, they say one of the greatest reasons that missionaries leave the foreign mission field is not because they're discouraged in the culture, but it's because of contention they experience within teams where they, first of all, were beginning to work with people. Many times working with somebody who was at one time a friend or somebody that they enjoyed working with. And so one of the things that causes people to develop these contentions is the idea that rather than seeing people as people, we begin to see them as someone who's supposed to serve us, someone who's supposed to do what we want them to do. Or rather than viewing someone as a partner in ministry, we see them as a rival. We begin to compare ourselves to them. Do they have more gifts or less gifts? And are they seeing more benefits, more blessings, or are they seeing fewer? And there's a rivalry, there's a contention. Or sometimes a person is not on board with what we're wanting to do. And so we see them as a roadblock rather than a co-laborer. We're supposed to work together, work through issues. You see how contention begins to well up in situations. We may see ourselves as the master, the ruler, the one who's in charge, rather than seeing them as a brother, someone who we work with, someone whom we love, someone who we are carrying on our shoulders the weight together. We don't see this mutual brotherhood, co-laborer. We're seeing ourselves as someone who's in charge and they're under my authority. Maybe the idea of boasting over the success that we've experienced, or sometimes we'll even see people compromise, trim the message, or try to make it more adaptable because they want ministry success. The point of all this is to say that the issue of contention is something that is a great danger to people in ministry. It's a danger to people in their home lives. It's a danger to people within a church context. But then there's the other side. The other side of contention is that of discouragement or loneliness or weariness, where someone feels like they can't continue to carry on. Or sometimes we hear the word burnout. You say, well, where does that come from? Well, sometimes it comes from people laboring to be perfect rather than just simply being faithful and letting God work through them and relying on his power. Instead, there's this inordinate desire to be perfect rather than just faithful, or a desire to maintain our reputation and how people perceive us, or constantly fretting over whether or not we're meeting other people's expectations, or we could just say a general discouragement from a lack of success. The reason I bring up these two areas, the danger of contention and the danger of discouragement, is to say, first of all, that this is something that people deal with. I mean, as someone who's a pastor and I've been a missionary, I know what it's like to feel some of these very impulses in my own personal life or in the interaction I have with other people. It is a temptation that we have to constantly be on guard with. But the question is, what is the source of that contention or that discouragement? What tree does this fruit grow on? What is at the root of these issues? And the answer is, it's pride. Pride is what leads us into contention, and pride is what drives us to discouragement. And you might say, well, how could it end up in one of those two areas? Like, those two things seem so different. Well, it's because ultimately pride is rooted in an identity that is, we could say, based on what we're doing for God, what people see about what we're doing. And if we think that we're measuring up, we become proud. And if we think we're not, we become discouraged. That's the common source. And so the passage in front of us is a wonderful passage because it is Christ basically going to the root, and he's saying, let's pull it out at the root and let's address this issue at the root so that it doesn't end up in these two areas. So we could say this, that the antidote to people being arrogant or people being burned out and disillusioned is ultimately the same. And the passage we're looking at this week is going to address that issue. So I'm really excited about taking this passage and breaking it down and working through it with you. You might say, well, Joel, what's your kind of final thought? How'd you summarize this? Well, here's what I'll say. Success begins with perspective. And the passage in front of us will shape our perspective so that we will think biblically about the nature of Christian ministry, in particular our focus. And so I hope that you'll join us this week as we work on these things. May the Lord help us to not find ourselves in these two extremes, contentious or discouraged. May we be found faithful and encouraged in the work of the Lord, and this passage will help us to do that. Hope that you have a good morning, and I look forward to digging in this passage with you tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. Bye now.